History is filled with giants. We remember Alfred the Great, his grandson Athelstan, and William the Conqueror. Their names are etched into the very soul of England. But what about the king who came between them? The one who held the fragile new kingdom together when it could have shattered into 1,000 pieces. I'm talking about Edmund I, a ruler often relegated to a footnote. They called him Edmund the Magnificent for a reason. He was a teenager when he inherited a throne, a kingdom still bleeding from decades of war. His story isn't just about battles, it's about survival, clever politics, and laying the groundwork for the England we know today. He is history's hidden hero, and it's time we brought him out of the shadows. Imagine a world where your life could be upended at any moment. This was the reality of 10th century England. Viking longships were a constant, terrifying presence on the horizon. For generations, these Norse raiders had plundered, conquered, and settled vast swathes of the land. The dream of a united English kingdom, so painstakingly built by Edmund's predecessors, was incredibly fragile. It was a patchwork of different peoples, laws, and loyalties. Northumbria, a kingdom in the north, was a particular powder keg. Its population was a volatile mix of Anglo-Saxons and Norse settlers, constantly threatening to break away and ally with Viking kings from Dublin or Scandinavia. This was the world Edmund was born into around 921 AD. He was a son of Edward the Elder and a grandson of the legendary Alfred the Great. Royalty ran in his veins, but so did the immense pressure of his lineage. He grew up hearing tales of his grandfather's desperate fight against the great heathen army, and his father's campaigns to reclaim lands from the Danes. He wasn't just a prince, he was a warrior in waiting, trained from a young age for the brutal realities of his time. He even fought alongside his older half-brother, King Athelstan, at the legendary Battle of Brunanburh in 937. When Athelstan died without an heir in 939, the crown passed to Edmund. He was just 18 years old. The vultures began to circle almost immediately. The Viking king of Dublin, Olaf Guthfrithson, saw his opportunity. He invaded Northumbria and quickly captured the strategic city of York. He then pushed south deep into the heart of Mercia, the English Midlands. This wasn't just a raid, it was a full-blown invasion, designed to dismantle Athelstan's legacy. The teenage king was facing a crisis that would have broken a more experienced ruler. His reign began not with celebration, but with the thunder of an invading army at his doorstep. Edmund couldn't afford a single misstep. His response had to be swift, decisive, and powerful. He mustered his army and marched north. Edmund managed to recapture the territory in the Midlands known as the Five Boroughs: Leicester, Lincoln, Nottingham, Stamford, and Derby. These were strategically vital towns, acting as a buffer zone between the English south and the Norse north. Rather than risk everything in a pitched battle he might lose, he agreed to a treaty. But Edmund was playing a long game. The treaty bought him precious time. It allowed him to consolidate his power in the south, rebuild his forces, and wait for the right moment to strike. Olaf Guthfrithson died just a year later, in 941. His successors, Olaf Sitriksson and Ragnar Guthfrithson, soon began fighting amongst themselves for control of the north. With the Viking leadership in disarray, Edmund launched his counterattack in 942. It was a brilliant and swift campaign. He swiftly retook the Five Boroughs, not just by force, but by positioning himself as a liberator. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, a key source from the period, records a poem celebrating his victory, stating that the Danes living there had been forced by need to bow to heathen men and that Edmund had freed them. Instead of annexing the territory and creating another resentful population to govern, he granted it to Malcolm I, the King of Scots. On St. Augustine's Day, the 26th of May, 946, he was celebrating at a royal estate in Pucklechurch, Gloucestershire. In a moment of kingly fury, Edmund himself lunged at the man to eject him from the feast. A violent struggle ensued, and in the chaos the king was stabbed and killed. He was just 25 years old, but Edmund had laid the essential foundation. He had rescued the kingdom from the brink of collapse, reclaimed the north, pacified his borders through clever diplomacy, and strengthened the rule of law. He had taken the magnificent vision of his brother Athelstan and made it a durable reality. Without Edmund's crucial interventions, the Kingdom of England might have fractured and been reconquered by Norse forces, changing the course of British history forever. He was known to his contemporaries as Edmund the Magnificent, a title that perfectly captures his energetic and effective rule. Ultimately, Edmund I deserves to be pulled from the footnotes and placed firmly back into the main narrative of English history. He was the vital link in the chain, the king who ensured the dream of England did not die with its first architect. Edmund the Magnificent wasn't just a placeholder king, he was a nation saver, and that is a deed worth remembering.